It's time to share secrets and insights from fellow entrepreneurs. If you're looking to grow or start a business and you're a game changer, then keep listening to Avanti Entrepreneur for great advice from your host, Dave Mammano, America's entrepreneur coach.
Hey, Avanti Tribe, Dave Mammano here. Just want to thank our sponsor, Paychex. You know, Paychex, they make it simple for businesses of all sizes to pay and manage their team. They make payroll easy with employee pay options, including direct deposit, checks, pay cards, and so much more. Founded over 4 decades ago to relieve the complexity of running a business so that the owners can focus on what matters most. Above all else, and more than any other company, Paychex makes it simple. Visit AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com. Go to our partner link and check them out. They're offering you a free month of payroll just for giving them a shot as an Avanti Tribe member. Give them a shot, folks. They really help this podcast to be possible. Really appreciate Paychex. Now, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mammano, your host, and we are here to help achievers and business owners and leaders move forward so that they can reach their potential. I do this by interviewing incredible business movers and shakers, and today I have on the show a great, awesome, high-powered rock and roll mover and shaker named Carey Balogh. Carey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
So happy to have you on the show, Carey. I'm going to read your bio, and we're going to dig into it. So
All
you
right.
are founder and chief groupie of Brand Groupies, which I love the name. We're going to talk about that. But as an entrepreneur and award-winning business owner, Carey boasts 20-plus years. How is that possible? 20-plus years.
I feel like I'm 18.
Oh my God! You started when you were 8. There you go. And 20-plus years of experience in brand development, management, public relations, marketing, and special events. Carey obtained her BA in journalism and public relations from the University of Maryland and her master's in fashion promotion from the Mancini Institute in Milan, Italy. She has worked with hundreds of startup brands to international powerhouse clients like Gucci, Calvin Klein Collection, the Hublot watches, and at the executive level. She also co-founded a children's rock and roll themed play space in Williamsburg, Brooklyn called Frolic, which was named the best play space in New York City by Time Out New York Kids. The brand was then licensed to the Children's Museum of Manhattan. Carey has assisted with Rook Coffee launch in 2010 and remains a proud member of the advisory board. She advises any size businesses ranging from small local entrepreneurs to bigger brands like Brand Groupies client Mancini Duffy, a 100-year-old architecture and design firm in New York City. Entrepreneurs look to Brand Groupies to help build a new brand or revamp current brands through brand strategy sessions and mastermind groups. Tune into the Brand Groupies podcast, where Carey interviews inspiring brand founders about how they built and rock their brands. You can also catch her playing guitar in Mamadrama, her mom-only band out of Asbury Park. That's a freaking cool bio, Carey. Congratulations.
Thanks, David.
I love it. So
funny.
Yeah, and I'm reading about you. In my research, people are calling you a mompreneur, right? A mompreneur. So one of the articles said. And kind of a cool fact that you left out of your bio is that you actually toured with the Rolling Stones on one of their European tours.
Mm-hmm.
And so really great, interesting story. Want to hear about it all. But of course, we got to find out, since I just mentioned it, how did you happen to tour with the Rolling Stones?
So I've always been a music fanatic. And so I actually was dating my now husband, who started out as a roadie. And I was dating him while he was on tour with the Rolling Stones. So I would fly out and catch him on tour. So we, went to Italy, Spain, France, and did that leg of the tour one summer.
Very
so
cool.
It was very exciting.
So, of course, the question everybody asks, what's Mick Jagger really like? Is he a nice guy or somewhere in between, right?
Very nice. Very nice. I mean, it's all business when you're there. And, it was really cool to just to see how crazy it is. And the fans, I always tell my clients, like, be the Mick Jagger of your industry, just to see the fans up close and how crazy and obsessed and passionate they were at these concerts. I try to have my my brand clients attract the same passion and fan-like, feeling.
Well, the thing is, you got to give Mick Jagger credit, because even if he's the least bit humble,
Hmm.
you have to say this guy has like been one of the most world massive rock stars for 40, maybe
Hmm.
50 plus years now. World adulation, women loving him all over the world. And, 50 years of that, you could understand if he has a big ego. So if he's the least bit
Yeah.
humble, I'm going to give him some credit, right?
Yes, yes, that's for sure. No,
So
definitely.
definitely want to learn more about you, Carey. So if you could, tell us a little bit more about your career and how you help people, and really how did you get into it?
Okay, sure. Well, Brand Groupies is a boutique consulting firm, and I actually help entrepreneurs and small business owners nail down their brands from the early stages through to launch. That's my sweet spot. So I really help with brand strategy, from marketing to social media strategy, events, personal branding, and ranging from tiny one-person businesses to 100+ people businesses. And I got into it by doing PR for many years. I graduated from the University of Maryland journalism school, so I have a journalism degree, and then went straight to Manhattan after college and worked in the fashion industry. I produced a number of fashion shows in New York, and then I had that itch to move to Italy. I studied abroad in Florence and completely fell in love with Europe. And I know you're Italian, David, so you get it. And so I basically packed up. I moved to Milan by myself and went to the Marangoni Institute, got a master's in fashion promotion. And during that time, I worked for an international PR agency, and I handled PR for a lot of fashion designers, as well as Tommy Hilfiger in the Italian market, also Juicy Couture we launched in the Italian market. And so I did that for a little under 3 years, moved back to New York, and worked for an Italian company called Vestimenta, who then bought the Calvin Klein collection license. And so, I had a lot of experience working with licenses of big brands and following the brand guidelines and making sure that we were maintaining brand integrity, especially in foreign markets when I was in Italy. So I was learning all of this about brands, not knowing it at the time. And then I got into the watch industry. I was a PR director at the Promotion Factory for, I think, over 6 years. And I was a PR director in the US for Hublot watches, as well as Gucci watches and Bertolucci watches. We really had a hold on the watch industry. So I would go to Basel, Switzerland, all the big watch shows, and it was such an exciting industry. It was so high-end, luxury. Like our events were like, let's taste this wine from 1862. It was really over the top PR and very exciting at the time. And so that was a huge experience for me. I remember going to the watch shows, and I was representing Hublot as well as Gucci. And I remember wearing a Hublot watch on my right wrist and a Gucci watch on my left. And I would be like, one day I would see the Hublot president, and I'd have to show my Hublot watch. I was always on brand, living the brand.
Right.
And so it was really an exciting time. And then, of course, I had a family, and I couldn't keep up with the pace of PR, going out every night, entertaining editors. So I always had that entrepreneurial itch. And I started a little baby line called Baby in Black, and I sold in Brooklyn. And I just kept trying to figure out, what is it I wanted to do? What was that one idea? And my neighbor was also a new mom and a fashion designer. And we both were like, we have to get out of the fashion industry. And so we created Frolic, a children's rock and roll themed play space in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. It was when, families were just starting to move to Williamsburg, and it was, really known for hipsters, and, all these buildings were going up. So we were kind of there in the early days, and we said, all these people, here we were in the fashion industry, so used to a certain level of, style and community. And then you become a mom, and you're expected to go to like a McDonald's type play space, and so we wanted to create something that was cool and aesthetically pleasing for the creative types in Williamsburg. So Frolic was a 5,000 square foot facility, and it was very exciting. We had our own kids band. We did classes, membership, birthday parties. We did big concerts at Brooklyn Bowl and Music Hall of Williamsburg for kids. And then eventually we decided there was a lot going on in Williamsburg. There were a lot of competitors popping up around us, a lot of construction. So there were few reasons why we decided to pivot, but we ended up selling everything and licensing it to the Children's Museum of Manhattan. And our kids were also getting older, and I decided to move back to New Jersey, where my family and sister live. And that's when Brand Groupies came to life.
Smart move. That sounds like a great journey. That Kids Museum sounds fun. You got to come to my hometown of Rochester, New York. We have something called the Strong Museum of Play, which is just rated the third best museum in the world for kids.
Awesome.
3 floors of like massive exhibits, like old arcades. You may have heard of Wegmans grocery store, which is based out of Rochester. There's a mini Wegmans for the kids to shop at and really like check out. And it's kind of cool. And so I'll have to bring you to Rochester. So
I would love to.
You can check that out.
Yes.
So,
awesome.
So we met through a mutual friend, David Ragosa, who I love, and I'm thinking you love him too.
Well, I just had him on the podcast. Yep, he's amazing.
Who doesn't love David, right?
I know.
David is starting Avanti, has started Avanti in New Jersey, and you were at our kickoff meeting.
Yes, which is
super psyched about that.
It's awesome.
I know you bring a lot to the table, so we're pumped about that. So I want to ask you some questions about branding, right? So, and I'll be guilty of this because I am a ready, fire, aim entrepreneur, right? Sometimes I fire first, right? Fire, ready, aim, and there's a lot of us, right? Manic, frenetic entrepreneurs, and oftentimes we don't take the time to do the brand work necessary. Like we just want to launch the company. We want to launch the product, launch the site. And you know what? We'll worry about the brand later, right? Let's just get the site up and start getting the product out there and doing some testing, and we'll worry about the brand later. So what do you think about that method?
That's why I started the company. I kept seeing it time after time. I think that's the biggest thing. Branding and marketing always are the last thing on the budget. And I think people, they'll open up a business and then they open doors and it's like, okay, now it's time to market. You're absolutely right. Waiting until after they get everything up and running. And I strongly believe that your brand is like a menu. You can't open up a restaurant without your brand, your menu. Like, what is it that what's your DNA? What's your identity? And I believe that it needs to happen, at least 6 months at least before opening your doors. And a prime example is when we opened Frolic, we couldn't just open our doors. We had a huge overhead. We had to have money coming in from day one. So 6 months before we opened, we had our brand down. We hosted a free rock concert at the Music Hall of Williamsburg. We had over 700 families come. We started hyping up our brand prior to even opening. People didn't know what Frolic was. We had concert posters all over town. We held an open bar, for families to come, be the first to sign up for charter memberships. And also as a PR professional, it was very strategic, as far as sending out press releases. So we had to have our brand nailed down in order to send our first press release. And it wasn't just, oh, we're opening. It was, okay, we signed the lease. This is the first angle for the press release. So I sent a press release to Curbed, all the real estate media. So we had this huge article come out in Curbed. Just the fact that a rock and roll themed play space was coming to Williamsburg. And so we had the brand down and so we got a lot of press before we even opened. So I think that is such a huge part of the branding to really get, think about that pre-press and pre-launch, which is so important.
Awesome. Well, that makes a lot of sense. It's like you said, you can't open up the restaurant without the menu, and you don't really want to ask questions on the fly. What do the customers want? You want to kind of have that set a little bit. So, by the way, I totally agree with you. I was just kind of queuing up that question because I know that I've been guilty of it, and I know that a lot of ready, fire, aim entrepreneurs think about all that stuff later. and
Yes.
so people say, look at Craigslist. Where's Craigslist brand? Well, it
Hmm.
is his brand, right? His brand is like, we don't really care that much about design.
Simple. Exactly. That's part of the DNA.
That's
Yes.
part of his
Yes.
brand, right? I mean,
Exactly. It's
I,
on brand to
I've met Craig. I've met Craig from
have you?
Craigslist at a conference, and
That's so cool.
he is and he'll tell you, he'll admit it. I mean, he is as bland and boring as his website. That's his brand.
It's
That's
his
who he is.
brand. Yes, that makes sense.
He's staying true
He's
to his brand.
staying authentic to his brand.
Exactly.
That's cool.
So
I love it.
a lot of Avanti listeners are beginning to middle stage entrepreneurs, right? They've launched,
Mhm.
they've gotten some traction, and now they're listening to this podcast and other podcasts, maybe getting some coaching, through Avanti or other programs to help them get to that next level. As far as what you do, and when you're working with more of a beginning stage entrepreneur, what are some of the first things that you're going to do with that business to help them? They don't have a lot of money, most likely.
Mhm.
What are you going to do with them? And I know in your bio said you do work with startups and small businesses.
Mhm.
What are some of the
Mhm.
things that they can do to do some essential branding strategies when they don't have a big budget to do so?
I know, totally. And I think that's why I started these sessions, because the budgets, aren't as high as established companies, but I just love working with entrepreneurs. So what I created is called the brand pillars. And I found that it rings true from, a super new company to a larger firm. So the brand pillars basically break down to 4 or 5 categories that really nail down your brand. And that includes one, the face of the brand. For example, if you have a restaurant, is the chef going to be the face of the brand, or is the owner going to be the face of the brand? Number 2 is the product or service. So, what is it exactly that you do? Number 3 is the location or target market. And number 4 is your wow factor. So, an example, you don't have to have all 4 brand pillars be different, but you have to have 2 that differentiate you. So I give examples like Tom's shoes, right? So face of the brand is Blake, the founder, but the product and service, their shoes, they're, nothing so special about them. Target market, location, all over the world. Nothing so special, but the wow factor, the thing that sets it apart, is the one-for-one business model where, you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes to someone who can't afford them. So those are the 2 things that set him apart. Whereas Frolic, when I opened Frolic, part of our brand was our location, Williamsburg. It was hot. Everyone was writing about Williamsburg. Have families kind of come into where the hipsters are. That was huge. Our location was huge. And that was something about our brand that we promoted. And also our wow factor was rock and roll for kids. So it's really nailing down those 4 areas. And you might not want to be the face of the brand. That's fine. But you better have 1 or 2 other factors that really set you apart. And then once those 4 brand pillars down, we do a lot of exercises. It's not just like write it down. Like, we really think about it. What sets you apart? And once you have them nailed down, they help you make decisions for everything. So social media, like literally you rotate every pillar around, again and again, consistent rotation, and you're consistently sending out your key messages and, your everything about your brand. Like, for example, I'll post a picture of me at a rock concert, but I'm not going to post a picture of me at the gym, because that's I'm not a wellness company, or, that's not part of my brand DNA. So I hope if that makes a little sense. So we start with the brand pillars.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's kind of a cool brand to be considered a rock star, right? So, well, let's get into that.
I enjoy it. It's my authentic me.
I love it. And let's get into that, because
Yes.
this article I read about you called you a mompreneur.
Mhm.
And some people could say that's a little sexist, because you're a mom, you have kids, you have a business. Well, I'm a dad, I have a business, I have kids. They don't call me a dadpreneur, right? So, but I think people will go to that term sometimes, or just say, you're a woman and you have kids. How do you do your own business?
Yeah.
Probably just looking at traditional roles of the past, right, where the mom really took care of the kids more, the dad went to work. I'm a great dad. I think I'm a great dad. I try to be a great dad. Love my kids. I tell them I'd give them a kidney. I'd give them a heart, whatever they need. But that being said, and I hope this comes off the right way, I think that because the mom is the mom and the kids literally came out of the mom, that there is always a little touch more of a special bond, right? I mean, like, I could be the best dad in the world, but probably never going to be as good as a mom, right? And so maybe that's where it's coming from, you know. And so it gets to my question about a balance. So you've got a great full-time business, you've got kids, you're in a band, which I love the name, Mamadrama. You have a lot of great stuff going on. How do you? I'm sure there's a lot of intentional, instigative strategies on how to manage everything. And just wondering if you could share that with our audience.
Sure. Well, I don't have it down. I'm always looking for that balance. So not to say I have it, but I have learned through the years to organize myself better. It's amazing. I can organize other people, but like when it comes to myself, it definitely takes that extra, energy and effort. So what I do during the week is I've learned this over the years. So I try to structure my week so that I can be as present as possible with the kids and, at work. And it's hard to give that, I'm such an overachiever. I love to give 200% to everything. And so, for example, Mondays, I don't do any meetings on Mondays. I catch up on my emails because I want to take the weekends to be with my family. And so by Monday, I'm like, I got to, catch up on work. So I don't take meetings on Mondays. Tuesdays, I meet with my team, my creatives. And then Wednesday's pretty open. Thursdays, I do my podcast, and Wednesdays, I'll do a strategy sessions. Thursday, I'll do the podcast, and Fridays, I'll do lunches and social coffee meetings and things like that when it's a little bit lighter at the end of the week. And I try to fit in all my work between 8 and 3, if possible. Of course, things come up at night, but I really, really try to finish all the important things so that all of a sudden, I'm in mom mode. I'm picking them up from school, heading to soccer practice, and then I'll get back on my computer at 10 o'clock. But I really try to, focus on that time and get it done while they're in school. I'm always trying to find that balance, David, but that's how, that's been helping me, more structure.
Yeah, it sounds like you block schedule, and actually I've learned that recently, and I just went into my schedule for this year, and literally like blocked out times and days of when I'll be doing things, more intentional about when I schedule activities, right? So to your point, I'm doing my podcast interviews now on Thursdays, right? And I try to do four on a Thursday, the first Thursday of the month. So then I'm done for the month. And, I love to write, but that has been escaping me because I just, the tsunami of the day takes over, and oh my God, I didn't write. And so now I blocked off every, Friday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm going to go someplace, probably a coffee shop, and I'm going to write for 2 hours once a week. And that's, I love that. It's almost therapeutic. And I blocked out my times when I work out. I do that in the morning. So I think ideally it's going to be very, very helpful for me to be a little bit more intentional and instigative about my schedule and my productivity. So I'm glad to hear that someone as successful as you shares that philosophy.
I'm trying.
And we'll make it happen. So this is fantastic. So what's next? What's going to be some of your goals here for 2019?
So I have to be honest, I've changed my business model a few times. I've pivoted. And so what I found was a lot of my clients I do strategy sessions with. I'm connecting them with people. Oh, you should meet this one. Oh, you should connect with this one. And I enjoy really being with, a few entrepreneurs at a time. So I am doing some small mastermind groups with new brands. So local entrepreneurs who are looking to build their brands. And so I'm excited about that starting in January. Awesome. So, yeah. And
I know you gave me a link to learn more about that, and we'll have that in the show notes for sure, so people can learn more about that. But as we wrap up, Carey, if people want to learn more about you, contact you, etc.? What are some of the best ways to do that?
So brandgroupies.com, and then feel free to email me, Carey, Carey, at brandgroupies.com, and then Instagram is at brandgroupies as well.
And you have your own podcast as well.
Mhm.
Brand Groupies. I downloaded it. I listened to a couple episodes. Very good. I love your style. You're fun and very informative in a lot of teaching moments, but it's also it's fun. It's a fun-loving podcast. I think that's the best way to describe it. You have a very sweet personality, and I think that's why people are endeared to you.
Oh, well, thank you, Dave. You're my idol. I've been following your podcast. I remember when I met you, I said, I know this. I've heard him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've listened to your podcast
Well, that makes
before. So I continue to learn from you, and love everything you're doing too. So.
Well, thank you for that, and it was great to meet you.
Yes,
in New Jersey, and I know that you're going to be very involved with David Ragosa with the New Jersey Avanti.
Yep.
And I'm going to be there for a lot of that stuff. So I look forward to seeing you more and watching
awesome
2019 and beyond.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Continued success. And
thank you.
Thank you, Avanti listeners, for listening to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. Always honored to have your time as well. Make sure to check us out on the web at AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com, where you can get the show notes and learn more about Carey and all the great things she has going on. My past guests, which is there's over 100 by now. I've been doing this for 2+ years. And after you listen to my podcast, I want you to also listen to Carey's Brand Groupies. It's a great fun podcast. So make it a great day, everybody, and stay awesome.
Thank you for listening. Head over to AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com for show notes and more helpful advice from entrepreneurs like you. Continue to find your entrepreneurial rhythm at the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast.